Welcome to True Echo, where the hidden truths of everyday people become powerful stories of justice, identity, and transformation. Today's story is one you won't forget. It begins with a mop and ends with a reckoning that shakes an entire business to its core. This is the story of a man who returned to the place that once gave him a shot, only this time, he wasn't there to ask for permission. He was there to observe, and then to change everything. The morning light was just starting to spill across the wide streets of Charlotte when Raymond Ellis pulled his aging pickup into a spot across from McAllister Motors. The dealership's fluorescent lights glared from within, casting sterile glows onto rows of gleaming cars. He turned the ignition off and sat still, letting the silence settle before reaching for his duffel bag and mop bucket. His khaki work pants and blue maintenance shirt said, "Custodian," but the story was far deeper. Raymond had spent 3 decades in the automotive world, rising from floor sales to regional director, building his own commercial real estate portfolio, and eventually founding Ellis Automotive Holdings. He wasn't rich from birth. He'd earned every dollar through grit, patience, and a refusal to let anyone define his worth. 3 weeks ago, he'd finalized the purchase of McAllister Motors under an LLC. No one here knew the name behind the deal. That was by design. He wanted to see the truth, unfiltered. Not as the new owner, not as a figure in a tailored suit, but as someone invisible. A man mopping floors. He entered through the back, nodding to a couple of employees who barely registered him. He was just Ray, the new janitor. Nobody asked questions. He liked it that way. Inside, the day was already moving. Salespeople unlocked cabinets, service techs hustled past with clipboards, and the receptionist rehearsed her phone script. Everything seemed in order, on the surface. But Raymond didn't trust surfaces. He was here to feel the air, to sense the undercurrents, and they didn't take long to find. It was 8:15 when she walked in. Heels first. Red. Loud. Confident. Behind them, navy slacks and a crisp white blouse that looked vacuum-sealed. A black leather bag slapped against her side as she moved past reception without even a nod. "Let's have a strong day, people," she barked. Colleen Draper. General Manager. Raymond was mopping near the entrance when she noticed him. Her heels paused. Her eyes did not hide their contempt. "Who cleared maintenance to be in the showroom during open hours?" she asked loudly enough for 2 waiting customers to turn their heads. Raymond remained calm, his mop gliding over the tile. "Just trying to clean before the rush, ma'am." "Try harder," she snapped. "That mop water looks like coffee. Are you even using a fresh bucket?" "Yes, ma'am." "Clean water, new head." She scoffed. "This isn't a gas station bathroom. Keep it moving." "Out of sight." He nodded once and pushed the cart down the hall. No emotion. No reaction. Just silence. But inside, he filed it away. Colleen wasn't finished. Later that day, the showroom buzzed with activity. A young family waited at the finance desk while a couple test drove an SUV. Light pop music filled the air, and employees danced between tasks, carefully watched by Colleen, stationed near reception like a queen at court. Raymond had drifted toward the front again, polishing a display near the entry when a small boy from the young family spilled his juice across the floor. The mother looked horrified, fumbling in her purse for tissues. Before she could react, Raymond was already there, on his knees, dabbing the spill with practiced grace. "Thanks, man." "Appreciate it," the father said. Raymond nodded. "No problem." That's when Colleen struck again. "Oh no," she said, already storming across the floor. "You've got to be kidding me." Everyone turned. "You're wiping the floor in front of customers, on your knees. What is this? A daycare center?" The mother tried to speak. He was just. "No. I apologize," Colleen cut her off. "This won't happen again." She turned to Raymond, voice sharp. Do you even know how much these cars cost? How hard we work to build a luxury experience. You're crawling around like we're a truck stop. Raymond rose slowly. He didn't react. He just looked at her. You done? He asked softly. That stopped her. I'm here to clean messes. That's all I've done. She blinked, then snapped, then stay in the service bay, away from where people spend money. She turned and walked off. This time, whispers followed. Milo, the youngest salesman, looked especially shaken. And as Raymond returned to his cart, one towel at a time, something shifted. Not in Colleen. But in everyone else. The break room buzzed with low voices. Did you see that? Lana whispered. Milo nodded. Hard to miss. Dana, the blunt finance assistant, shrugged. She embarrassed him. Again. Lana bit her lip. He didn't flinch, though. He's different. Doesn't act like a janitor, Dana said. Could be corporate. Come on, Milo laughed. This isn't a resort. It's Charlotte. Dana raised an eyebrow. The dealership changed hands 3 weeks ago. No one knows who bought it. Think about it. Outside the break room, Raymond leaned over the utility sink. He heard enough. That night, he wrote in his notebook, they work through fear. The next few days confirmed it. Colleen snapped at a receptionist for laughing too loudly. She berated a porter for brushing a car without gloves. She cut off a service tech mid-sentence and walked away. No one stood up. Even the assistant manager, Dean, who clearly had experience, stayed silent. You've been here long? Raymond asked him once during a slow hour. Dean looked down. Almost 7 years. You seem to be the one people go to. Dean chuckled. Not my operation. Raymond smiled. Still. You're the one holding it together. Dean glanced at him, eyes cautious. You're not just a janitor, are you? Raymond shrugged. Maybe I just like seeing how people behave when they think no one's watching. Dean gave a slow nod. He understood. By day 3, the atmosphere at McAllister Motors had become an orchestra of tension. Every nod, every glance, every whispered comment vibrated with a new frequency, one of suspicion, hope, and quiet anticipation. Milo watched Raymond mop, but with eyes that were no longer indifferent. Dana kept, accidentally, walking past him in the halls. Even Dean lingered a little longer during brief conversations, like a man who knew a secret but wasn't ready to say it out loud. And Colleen? She carried on with twice the confidence and half the control. She strutted, gave her usual empty speeches about branding, and reminded everyone that every inch of the showroom was a performance. But no one was clapping anymore. That morning, Colleen paced around the office while on the phone, gesturing so loudly that even the customers at the finance desk turned their heads. No, I'm not overreacting, she snapped. He was kneeling on the floor like a janitor from a roadside motel. Right in front of buyers. I don't care if facilities said he's new, he doesn't belong out there. She slammed the phone down and stormed past reception without noticing the glances exchanged behind her back. Something was shifting under her feet, but she was too focused on managing the stage to notice the curtain rising behind her. Raymond, meanwhile, had spent the previous night reviewing everything. Camera footage. Sales data. HR complaints. Anonymous employee surveys. He wasn't just the new owner anymore. He was preparing to become something Colleen never saw coming, accountability. On the morning of day 4, at precisely 10 a.m., a sleek black town car pulled up in front of McAllister Motors. Colleen stepped out of her office, lipstick freshened, blazer immaculate. She imagined this was her moment. Corporate must have sent someone. She could almost hear herself rehearsing a tour in her head. This is the team I built. This is the empire I run. The passenger door opened. Out stepped a middle-aged man in a tailored gray suit, gold watch catching the light. Then the other side of the car opened. Raymond stepped out. No mop. No work shirt. Just a crisp navy suit, white shirt, polished shoes, and a steady gaze that met hers like stone against glass. Her smile vanished. The suited man spoke first. "Good morning. I'd like to introduce Mr. Raymond Ellis, principal owner of Ellis Automotive Holdings and, effective immediately, majority owner of McAllister Motors." You could have heard a pin drop. A pen clattered on the front desk. Milo's coffee tipped dangerously on the edge of the counter. Colleen blinked. "Excuse me." Raymond stepped forward. Calm. Commanding. You heard him. Her voice faltered. "You're, what?" "The janitor." "For a few days, yes. Just wanted to see how things really ran." She shook her head. "That's absurd. You can't just pretend." "Actually, I can," Raymond interrupted. "The deal was finalized weeks ago. Through an LLC. Quietly." "But why?" Raymond's tone darkened. "To see who I was trusting my business with. And to see how people were treated when no one was watching." Colleen's face went pale. Raymond's words were measured now, but lethal. "You judged me in 30 seconds. Loudly. Twice. Not for making a mistake, but for looking like someone who didn't belong here." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. "And if that's how you treat someone you think has no power," he added, turning toward the staff, "then I have to wonder how you treat the rest of my team when you think I'm not around." The silence was different now. Charged. Colleen's breath caught. "I'm calling an all-staff meeting," Raymond announced. "Full attendance. Including service. Including detail. 1 hour." Colleen's voice dropped. "Am I included?" Raymond's eyes locked on hers. "You'll be addressed then." He turned and walked away. And the dealership watched as the balance of power shifted with each step. 45 minutes later, the conference room was packed. Technicians in coveralls stood beside salesmen in pressed shirts. Finance clerks clutched lukewarm coffees, receptionists lined the back wall, and even the lot porters found space to stand shoulder to shoulder. The tension in the room was thick, but not suffocating. It was electric, alive with the kind of anticipation that only comes when everyone knows something is finally about to change. Colleen stood near the side wall, arms folded tightly. She had abandoned her usual air of authority and opted for silence, her posture stiff, as though bracing for a blow she still hoped might miss her. Raymond Ellis stood at the front. No PowerPoint. No script. Just presence. He scanned the room slowly, meeting eyes, really meeting them. Some looked back nervously. Others, hopefully. All of them listened. "First off," Raymond said, his voice even but firm, "thank you for being here. I know this wasn't on your schedule. My name is Raymond Ellis. Some of you may know the name. Many of you don't. That's okay." He stepped forward. "What you need to know is this: I'm now the principal owner of McAllister Motors. I didn't come here to make noise. I came to listen." A subtle murmur passed through the group. Eyes darted. Hands shifted. "I spent a few days here doing the quiet work, mopping, wiping down counters, listening. Observing." He paused. Then looked directly at Colleen. "What I saw, what I heard, told me more than I expected. I saw employees walking on eggshells, not out of pressure to perform, but out of fear. Fear of being humiliated, dismissed, or embarrassed in front of colleagues and customers. That's not a leadership style. That's a liability." No one moved. "I get it," he continued. "You've got bills. You've got families. You put your heads down and do the work. Not because the environment is empowering, but because survival forces you to adapt. A sharp breath was heard from the back. Someone nodded slowly. Raymond's voice softened, but carried more weight. You shouldn't have to survive your workplace. He let the silence settle. For a moment, it became sacred. Then his gaze returned to Colleen. Miss Draper. She lifted her head but said nothing. You've been here 5 years, Raymond said. And no one's denying that the numbers have improved. But numbers without people mean nothing. And fear isn't leadership, it's just dominance pretending to be order. He stepped forward again, arms relaxed. If you've got to belittle your staff to get results, then you've already failed. Because fear may bring obedience, but it never brings loyalty. It doesn't inspire. It doesn't grow anything but resentment. He turned back to the room. And I've seen enough. Colleen's voice cracked for the first time. I did what I thought was best. I kept things on track. Raymond didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. No. You kept people quiet. You made them afraid to speak. You made them think that respect had to be earned from the top, but never offered from the top down. He looked back at the staff again, scanning faces. So here's what's going to happen. We're cleaning house. Not by firing everyone. Not by issuing a company-wide overhaul. We're starting by restoring what matters: trust. Communication. Basic human dignity. Another pause. Then. All leadership roles will be reviewed over the next 2 weeks. That includes you, Miss Draper. You will be placed on leave while that process is underway. Colleen opened her mouth again. Closed it. This time, she understood. Raymond's voice softened. This is not about revenge. This is about respect. And respect goes both ways. Someone in the back clapped, once. It wasn't sarcastic. It wasn't forced. Then another. Then a few more. It didn't erupt into a cheer. It didn't need to. It was acknowledgement. Raymond gave a small nod. Meeting's done. The room stayed still for a heartbeat longer. Then the crowd began to file out, slower than usual, heads held higher, glances exchanged with something new in their eyes. Hope. As they left, Colleen lingered. Raymond didn't speak to her. He didn't need to. The silence between them said enough. Tomorrow, she would be gone. But today. Today, the foundation of McAllister Motors began to shift. And it wasn't built on performance metrics or marble floors. It was built on respect. The next morning, McAllister Motors felt different. Not because anything looked different. The same logo still hung above the front doors, the same vehicles gleamed under the showroom lights, and the same smell of leather and lemon disinfectant lingered in the air. But something intangible had shifted. People walked in with a touch of hesitation, like they were stepping into a room where the rules had just been rewritten, and no one had shown them the new playbook yet. Some exchanged cautious glances. Others nodded quietly. No one laughed. Not yet. But the silence wasn't laced with fear anymore. It was filled with waiting. Upstairs, in the previously unoccupied ownership office, Raymond sat behind a bare desk with a plaque now mounted on the door, Art Ellis. There were no grand decorations, no leather-bound ledgers. Just a laptop, a notebook, and the quiet confidence of a man who'd come to reclaim more than a business. He'd come to reset a culture. At 10 a.m., he asked that Colleen come to see him. She arrived with her arms folded, mouth drawn into a line. Her heels tapped across the polished floor slower than usual, more restrained. She stepped into the office and sat only when Raymond gestured. He didn't smile. But his voice wasn't hostile, either. This isn't a courtroom, he said. You can breathe. Colleen let out a breath, dry and clipped. I suppose you want my resignation. Raymond shook his head slowly. No. I want the truth. That caught her off guard. I want to know how things got this way. How someone smart and clearly capable, because you are, ended up leading through fear instead of strength. Colleen leaned back, her tone cooling. When I got here, this place was chaos. Sales were flat. Morale was non-existent. People joked around too much. It was sloppy. So I cleaned it up. Raymond didn't interrupt. I brought structure, she continued. Discipline. Focus. And it worked. We became the top-performing branch in the region. Raymond nodded. But at what cost? She didn't answer. You didn't just bring structure, he said. You brought control. Fear. You humiliated people in public. You weaponized your authority instead of using it to empower others. That's not leadership, Colleen. That's insecurity, dressed up in a title. Her face twitched at the word. I was trying to keep things tight, she said, to keep them focused. You kept them silent, he countered. They didn't perform because of you. They performed in spite of you. She looked away for the first time. Raymond leaned back. You're smart. No question. But what you lack is emotional discipline. And if you want to lead people, you have to master that first. Colleen was quiet. The air between them was heavy, not with animosity, but with truth. So what now? She asked, voice low. You're being placed on leave, Raymond said. Effective immediately. Paid, for now. HR will schedule your exit review. You can apply again in 6 months. Elsewhere. But not here. Her breath caught, but she didn't argue. She didn't plead. She just nodded, slowly, hollowly. Raymond stood and extended his hand. Good luck. She stared at it, then shook it, barely meeting his eyes. On her way out, she passed Dean in the hallway. He gave her a glance, not smug, not vengeful. Just, final. She didn't say a word. Dean stepped in. Raymond nodded toward the seat. Have a seat. Dean sat down cautiously. He still looked like a man waiting for the ground to give out. I watched you, Raymond said. The way you handled things. Quietly. Cleaning up problems, putting out fires, staying behind the curtain. Dean looked embarrassed. Wasn't my place. Raymond raised an eyebrow. It should have been. You've got leadership in you. But you've been operating under a system that punished integrity. Dean didn't answer. But something in his face relaxed. I want to change that, Raymond said. I'm offering you interim general manager status. Trial period. No politics. No theater. Just real leadership. Dean blinked. I didn't expect that. I know, Raymond replied. But I did. After a long pause, Dean nodded. All right. I'll do my best. I know, Raymond said. That's all I ask. Word spread fast. By noon, everyone knew Colleen was out. No one threw a party. There were no celebratory cheers. Not yet. But in the service bay, 2 techs quietly bumped fists. On the sales floor, Milo let out the first full laugh anyone had heard from him in days. Near the reception desk, Lana whispered to Dana, this might actually turn out okay. But Raymond wasn't there for comfort. Not yet. First came cleanup. Then came trust. And that, he knew, was going to take more than just a new name on the door. 2 weeks later, McAllister Motors looked the same. From the outside, nothing had changed. Same signage. Same glass facade. Same polished chrome SUVs lined up in neat little rows. But inside? Everything had begun to shift. It didn't happen all at once. Culture doesn't change overnight. But it started in the details, in the way people started looking each other in the eyes again. In the way laughter returned to the break room. In the way Lana no longer stiffened when the phone rang, and the service techs didn't flinch every time management walked through the bay. Raymond made a point to meet with each department, not in conference rooms with cold air and clicky pens, but in their workspaces, where grease-stained gloves and ringing phones were the norm. He didn't lecture. He asked questions. He took notes. Sometimes, he didn't say anything at all, just stood there with his sleeves rolled up and listened. He knew the most dangerous thing a leader could do was believe they had all the answers. So he listened. And slowly, they began to speak. They told him what wasn't working. What had been broken for years. What they were too scared to say before. And Raymond didn't just listen, he acted. A few inefficient policies were scrapped. A rigid scheduling system was overhauled. Bonuses were restructured based on collaboration, not just raw numbers. Most importantly, people were given a voice. Even Milo, the young salesman who once bit his tongue in fear, was part of a new mentorship program Raymond had sketched out. "You've got instincts," Raymond told him. "Now learn how to trust them." Dean, now interim GM, flourished. The man who once hid behind quiet compliance began stepping forward, not as a tyrant, but as a steady hand. Someone who had once cleaned up behind others was now building something of his own. And as for Colleen, her name hadn't been mentioned since she left. Not out of disrespect. Out of relief. Raymond never badmouthed her. He didn't need to. Her legacy was written in whispers and silences, both of which were fading now, like the echo of an old storm that had finally passed. One Friday afternoon, as the week wound down, the staff gathered in the back lot for an informal cookout Dean had helped organize. Nothing fancy, just a few grills, some folding chairs, soda in coolers, and music playing from someone's Bluetooth speaker. Raymond stepped onto a small wooden pallet near the edge of the crowd. No microphone. No fanfare. "All right," he called out. Before the burgers disappear, just a few words. The chatter softened. All eyes turned. "I bought this place not because I needed another business," Raymond began. "I bought it because I believe places like this matter. Not because they sell cars, but because they run on people." He paused, letting the weight settle. People who show up early. Stay late. Solve problems. Make others feel seen. And that doesn't come from job titles. That comes from respect. From the ground up. Someone clapped softly near the back. "And if we want this place to mean something, to really mean something, it has to start there. You don't need a title to have ideas. You don't need permission to care about this place. But you do need to treat others like they matter. Because they do." He looked over the crowd. The uniform doesn't matter. What you drive doesn't matter. The size of your paycheck doesn't matter. The way you treat people, that is what matters. Silence. Then a slow ripple of applause, sincere, steady. Raymond nodded once, then stepped down. Dana from finance walked up and handed him a soda. "I didn't think I'd ever see this place turn around," she said. Raymond smiled. "We're not there yet. But we're pointed in the right direction." A few feet away, Milo approached cautiously. "Mr. Ellis?" he asked. "Raymond," he corrected gently. Milo smiled. "Just wanted to say thanks. Not just for what happened. But for giving us a chance. For seeing us." Raymond shook his hand. "You shouldn't have to thank someone for something you should have had all along." As the sun dipped low and laughter returned to McAllister Motors, Raymond lingered for a moment near the service bay. His eyes fell on the mop bucket, tucked away in the corner where he'd first left it. The same one that carried him through the front door and into a world that had forgotten who built it. He stared at it quietly. Then turned and walked away. Because real power doesn't come from titles. It comes from how you carry yourself when no one's watching. It comes from listening, when everyone else is talking. And it comes from having the courage to start small, so others can stand tall. And sometimes, the biggest lesson in leadership comes not from the top down, but from the floor up. This story isn't just about a car dealership. It's about power, humility, and the hidden value in every person we overlook. In a world obsessed with appearances, Raymond Ellis reminded us that real respect isn't bought or demanded, it's earned, choice by choice. The way you treat people is the loudest thing you'll ever say. If this story moved you, share it. Leave a comment. Tell us what respect means to you. And if you believe in stories that reveal the truth behind appearances, don't forget to subscribe to True Echo, where every voice matters.